Folks, we are live. Welcome to Talking Crit Live. With me, as always, on Wednesday night is my once a week work spouse, Bad Mike Battleado, he of North Texas RPG Con. And with us is Ron Meischker. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I should have asked you before the show.
Shoot.
It's it's close enough. It's Meischker.
Meischker.
Got it.
Yes.
I'm German heritage, and I screw up my own last name.
Yeah.
Folks, Ron is the main man behind Page, the Philadelphia area game expo, which was hugely successful for its first year this year. So, Ron, thank you for joining us.
Oh, I appreciate you both having me. You know, we've run in the same circles, either online or on the convention circuit for years. So it's good to be on this program with you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. We've kind of we've crossed paths quite a bit over the last maybe decade or so, Ron. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you'll be part of the collecting scene, like kind of the same circles we are. I mean, you're a collector, D&D collector,
I am.
and we had a lot of mutual friends. One of our good friends was Jason Zavoda, who you were good friends with too, and he passed away a few years ago, sadly. But
Yep.
we've talked and known each other for quite a while. And it was really interesting when you had first started talking about having this Philadelphia game expo. I thought that's okay, cool, but you were a couple of things hit me right off the bat. First of all, you were very organized. You had all this stuff you had planned, and I kept thinking the first year we started our con, we were so half-assed and seat of the pants, it was ridiculous. And and then we had like 55 people, and the next year we had 100. And wait from there. And I noticed right off the bat you were very ambitious about this thing. You're like, okay, we're going to put on a real convention, and we're going to put it on the first year as if we're not going to start off slow. We're going to hit the ground absolutely running on this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My profession that I'm a union carpenter, director of a department within a regional carpenters union. So just by nature, being organized, if you're in organized labor, you kind of got to be organized, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it. But the other part is that it all kind of spawned out of the RPG collectors discussion and barter group, where I'm one of the administrators, and some people there were saying, hey, would be good if we had a convention, Ron, maybe you should do something. And I kind of took a step back because I've run conventions in the long ago past, pre-internet type stuff, and I said to myself, do I need this at this point in my life? And if I'm going to do it, what are my requirements if I'm going to do it? And my requirements were, one, I want to have fun with it. First and foremost, if I'm not having fun, I'm not going to do it. And secondly, there had to be a charitable element to it, which we do. We're a 501c3 charitable organization, and finally, I wanted to do it right, so to speak. It was going to have to be near an urban area. We were going to have to be in a spot where there was enough space to grow, and and finally, it needed to have it needed to attract people from around the country, not just locally. We were successful in doing that, specifically through the collectors market. Many people that I've met over the years, they flew in for it, and
Wow.
very appreciated.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool that when you put this on, it was like I said, you went full force into this because you hired staff. You have this. We'll talk about it in a little bit. This great idea for a charity, which
Mhm.
I donated some stuff to for your auction for that, which I thought was an excellent idea. But right off the bat, like you make a really good point about, if you're going to do this, let's do it right. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people trying to start conventions is they start them for the wrong reasons. And you were absolutely on target when you said that you just wanted to have fun and do something that you like. Because if you don't like doing this, and I have seen people that have conventions that don't like conventions, they just don't. They're doing it because it's money. They're making money, and so they. My wife brought me some bacon, so that's a Valentine's Day present. You can. I love you, Snuggles. Oh my God, I lost train of thought. Bacon. Anyway, no, but so I was just really impressed by the professionalism and the fact that you seem like you're in this for the long run. I believe you sold over 1,000 tickets this year, correct? Or
our final attendance who came through the door and checked in was 1140.
That's amazing for first year con. That is really good for first year con. I mean, that blows away us or Gary Con for first year cons. Gary Con didn't have that many first year. That's pretty darn good, man.
Yeah, but I you know what? In fairness to that, it's a similar crowd or the same crowd of people. So I mean, I had the advantage of being able to see who was going to these other conventions and talk to them about coming to Page,
right?
And so I wasn't starting from scratch, and believe me, there were some efforts made when identifying January. A lot of people said, "Oh, that's crazy. You're only, a month away from PAX, which is in Philadelphia, and things like that." But I looked at it a little different because, we have two distinct marketing plans: a local marketing plan, which is basically through game shops and social media, hey, get people out.
Right.
And then the nationwide marketing plan, which was collectors, good auction, old school systems, old school guests. Whereas the local marketing plan, we didn't necessarily talk about Frank Mitzer or Jeff D that much, as popular as they are.
Right.
But Professor Dungeon Master and Runehammer, these guys were extremely popular with the local gaming crowd, and we were able to mesh those two groups because, let's face it, we know our hobby has been a bit divided, for a while. We were able to mesh those groups, but the January thought was very calculated because, let's face it, we've got Gary Con in March, we've got North Texas in June, and then we've got Game Hole in October, early October, right? So I looked at it as like 4 points on a compass, like okay, every quarter, and that's for the folks that are the travelers, I'm going to call them, the people who will travel to come to a good convention. Because if I were to say, let me go for a warm month and jam it into the end of June, Mike, you're making me hungry with that bacon. I gotta.
It's so good. It's so good.
But if I went into June and said, well, I want to have warm months or whatever, you're forcing people to make a choice, and that doesn't help anybody. Right? It doesn't help anybody. And going back to the old days, back into the 90s and 80s, running conventions. There was actually an organization here at the Northeast that used to meet twice a year, and we would plot out the schedule for the year collectively amongst conventions back when conventions weren't necessarily very cooperative with one another, but we managed to find a way to cooperate because nobody was trying to hurt anybody else.
Right.
And, so if somebody new came forward and said, hey, I want to run a convention, it was always the suggestion from whoever the local main convention was, well, you should come to this committee and sit down and, we can help you. Because at the time you needed resources, right? You needed mailing lists. You needed lists of people, from other conventions. You needed RPGA mailing lists and things like that. It's a little different now, but I didn't want to force people to make any decisions. And I'm not looking to do that in the future either. We planted our flag in January. That's where we're going to stay. We did manage to get in the Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, this year, and that's where we're going to stay moving forward. Which I think is a good weekend for a convention because it lets people kind of stay through Sunday where they might not normally do that because they're trying to get back for work on Monday.
Right.
One of the things you look at with a convention is, and Doug and I, when we chose June, one of the things we looked at is, like you said, we're trying to space this out because we had Gary Con in the early part of the year, Game Hole, and then also in my neck of the woods we have ReaperCon. ReaperCon's end of August, beginning of September. So you don't want to, like you said, you don't want to compete with any of that. But even the thing. There's some people that were saying, well, January is such a bad time to have a con because it's after Christmas, is that? But we tried to understand this, and this is something Doug and I figured out for a couple of years. Every con is going to be somebody's worst time to meet. Because, for instance, the problem we run into being at the beginning of June is graduations. And over the years, we've had to have plenty of people miss the con because somebody was graduating, either a son, daughter, cousin. I mean, my brother very famously... he attended both of his kids' graduation, but he came to the con. Luckily they're local, so he went to the graduation like Saturday morning one year, then was back at the con, Saturday night running chariot racing. So no matter when you plan it, you're never going to make everybody happy. There's always going to be somebody that just says, yeah, that time of year is bad because fill in the blank.
Right.
But you're right. You plant your flag, and a con is successful. And this is another thing. There's been a couple of local cons over the years that have tried to compete with North Texas, but a couple of their issues were they kept switching their locale, which is a big no-no for me. You want to have continuity in this place, but they kept switching the time of the year, and that is terrible. You want people to associate a certain time of year with your con, and for us, it's end of May, beginning of June. That's going to be North Texas, and I think that is very, very important for the success of a con. And so, maybe beginning of January isn't everybody's cup of tea, but if you guys stake that out and make that yours and say this is what we're going to do, I think it could be a lot of success there, Ron. I really do.
Well, let's hope so.
St. Cuthbert, there is no 10-car con. There is no pub con. Sorry. It ain't happening anytime soon. There's enough cons for me to go to. I can't. I'm not running one. I am not.
That's a great segue though, because you're actually a special guest at this year's Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo.
Nice, Eric.
I didn't announce it. I figured.
How'd you get that gig? Boy, what a gig!
I don't know, Mike. Did you put in the good word for me, Matt? Perhaps.
Yeah. Well,
No,
help you out.
I was when Ron mentioned it to me, I was extremely flattered and floored. I mean, listen, I'm a special guest at ShireCon. ShireCon was a day and a half. Now it's going to be 2 days, which is it. And I love it. But what I do what I do on this channel and on the blog because I enjoy the OSR. I love the OSR. I love the people in the community. I love gaming in general. I go to conventions, generally speaking, if I'm going there because I'm working with either Frog God or I'm a guest, I'm running games. But if I'm going on my own time, I'm lucky if I play in one game, I'm there to socialize. Like I'm going to TotalCon next week. I totally forgot to sign up for any games. So, and it's too late now. I guess I have to see what tables are open, but I go to there to socialize. I go to there to meet other gamers and spend my time with other gamers, and I don't get a chance to do that. And I live in New York City, but I don't really get a chance to do that in New York. It's the biggest city in the country, and yet it's hard to find gamers of similar interests, but I can find them at conventions, and it's like coming home. It's like hanging out with buddies you haven't seen in a couple of months or a year, depending on what other conventions they go to. So that's why I enjoy these conventions. So I'm very thrilled and happy to be part of it.
Well, Ron, besides 10 cars, so we could, I understand you got to throw the old man a bone there, but you had a really good guest list. You had a very good guest list this year.
An amazing guest list.
For a first year con, because that's another thing. And I always tell the story about North Texas. We were cheap that first year. We're like, okay, who's local? Okay, Janelle Jaquays lives up a few cities away. Dennis Astaires in Austin. Jason Braun was in San Antonio. And we're trying to find people local, and then finally Doug just said, well, let's just invite Frank Mitzer and Tim Kask and Rob Kuntz, even though he had to fly him in. I'm like, oh my God, flying him in? I mean, that's crazy, but it worked out pretty good. We only had a few guests the first year, but man, you guys had a star-studded amount of guests, and what I thought also was cool, Ron, is they weren't just one type of guest. You had guests from the whole spectrum of gaming.
Yeah, we plan on continuing to do that. Just as I mentioned, we've got two distinct marketing plans, right? One is for guys like us who've been around the hobby a long time, collectors, like to travel to conventions, like to go to conventions to see their friends, as Eric said. It's creating that social opportunity for those folks. But we also have to be understanding that for today's newer gamers, they know the social media influencers and the YouTube channel folks who've got 100,000 followers. And I'll tell a quick story. We'd invited Frank, and Frank's from Delaware County, right outside of Philadelphia originally. It's where he grew up. We invited Frank, and I got a call from one of these new influencers, we'll call them. I'm not going to mention their name.
Uh-oh.
And he came in late, and he's like, I want to run 5 seminars. I'm like, well, our seminars, our seminars are already kind of packed up. I can probably put you in this panel discussion on Friday, about the business of the gaming business. I've sat in on those before. Nobody knows what they're talking about. I'm like, well, we got guys like Bill Barsh and people who really know the business, and they know their how they're slotted in the business and things like that. So he's like, well, I can't be there Friday anyway. Let me just look at Saturday. And he goes, I'm looking over what you got here. It's not very exciting. I said, oh, really? It's not very exciting. And I'm actually driving to Vermont with my wife at the time. We're in the car. And I go, really? He's like, yeah, like, for example, who the hell's Frank Mitzer? Like, who wants to go to an AMA with that? Who is the guy? I'll just move into that slot and move him somewhere else. I'm like,
what?
I'm like, you're joking, right? And he's like, no, I have no idea who Frank Mitzer is. And I said, well,
oh boy,
this isn't the time for you. I'm sorry.
I said, he's not moving anywhere. Now, to this guest's credit, he came in and was in awe of Frank once he had read and understood what Frank's contributions to the industry have been.
Right.
And to see Frank at Page, I got to tell you, I mean, he was accessible to everyone at the convention. Everyone. He stopped to talk to everybody. He stopped to answer any questions people had. He ran games all weekend. One of the highlights of the convention for me, especially when it came to Frank, is that on Thursday night, which was the day before the night before the convention, and this year we're going to go to a Thursday night track for our top badge tier this year. But we had a cheesesteak dinner for all of the special guests and just our volunteers and staff. That's who was there. And this way our staff had an opportunity to meet the special guests, without the hubbub of the rest of the convention around them. And it was very interesting to watch as the Rowan University IDD club, which means Introduction to Dungeons and Dragons Club, and it's basically their gaming club there. They came out, and about a dozen and a half of the students volunteered at the convention, and they were at the dinner, and only one of them knew who Frank Mitzer was, because they're 18 to 22, and the only one who knew who he was happens to be Ron Redmond's daughter, and I think we all know Ron Redmond. But he had the two tables of them fascinated with stories about the industry and about the history of RPGs. I have a few pictures of it. I mean, they were captivated by him. Like there wasn't anybody on their phone, like doing their thing while he was talking. I mean, he basically sat down with them and, gave them a good half an hour of his time to chat.
Right.
And it was wonderful to see. And, and that made me very happy that we were able to mesh generations of gamers, because I think we all know that there's been this divide, so to speak. Guys like us are gatekeepers and all that nonsense. For me, I just kept saying, hey, this is about gaming. It's about sitting down and enjoying playing whatever game you're there to play or games you're there to play. That's where we're all aligned, right? We're aligned by the fun of the game and wanting to play these games, whether it's a board game or whatever it is.
Absolutely. I was going to say about Frank. We've had Frank guest several times in North Texas. He is an excellent guest. He's an excellent ambassador to the hobby, and I've never had a complaint about any of his games he's ever run. Everybody's always had a great time in his game, and yes, he knows the history of the game quite well, and is able to reach to both young people and old people with equal ability.
Well, he knows how to tell a story. He can be entertaining. He could tell you a story about walking down the street and picking up a piece of paper, and you'll be entranced because of the way Frank will tell it. So if he's telling you the history of the game that you're interested in, I can see how these students would be very, very entranced by it. Frank has a certain skill with that. He's really good at it.
And that's kind of the thing is you just find you don't necessarily have to, you just want to find good guests. It doesn't matter if they come from the old school or the new school or whatever school. You just want to find good guests. And I always tell this story. I've told it a million times already, but we have people that come to our con and they'll play 5e and they'll play 1e. There's not I think that a lot of the divide that people talk about is a lot of it's artificial. When you get people in a gaming situation, they'll pick up whatever. If you have pre-gens and you say we're going to play a game, and okay, sure, what is it? It's 5e. I don't really play 5e, but what the hell? I'll do it. People are really, there's a very, very small segment. They're just like, nope, I am absolutely not going to play fill in the blank game. They'll usually pick up a pre-gen, and if it's about throwing dice and it's about D&D, they'll play. And so we see a lot of crossover, I know, at North Texas, and hopefully you guys see the same thing at Page, Ron. You get people playing new games, playing board games, playing old games, just playing a little bit of everything.
Yeah, we actually, the original, the OD&D, BX, BCMI games and first edition games, they sold out fast. I mean, and there were a lot of them. We didn't have two or three. Right. We had a bunch of them, and then the 5th edition games is filled up right away. I mean, I don't think we had any games that didn't go off, due to lack of interest. There were plenty of people sitting in the seats, and I personally, my home games, I like 2nd edition AD&D.
Right.
And
right
trying to find people to play in those groups can sometimes be tough, but eventually when they realize that it's so hard to find a consistent gaming group that's going to run and be consistent and not fizzle out after a couple of months, or DM gets tired or whatever it is, a lot of people will circle back to me. I go, hey, I am thinking about joining your game, but I don't know anything about 2nd edition. And I'm like, okay, but you play D&D, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So just stick to the tenets of role playing, okay? And we'll tell you what die to roll and when. You'll get the hang of it. Don't worry about that. So, but
Mike want to walk after more bacon.
I just want to show Ron So we game
Oh,
Saturday.
sorry.
Here's my stack of books. This is what we did. So I'm 2E all the way too, Ron, and
Yeah,
we're doing
I
Dwaro
see.
Deep. So
I see Duero Deep there. We did have Greg
yeah,
Gillespie there, Duero Deep author this year. His products are phenomenal. I mean,
yeah.
front to back. I mean, he just covers everything. From rival adventuring parties to
Mm.
everybody in every village is detailed. Like you can pick it up and run it without having to flesh out a lot of it within your
Right.
own.
Yeah,
Putting in a lot of work.
and for those who haven't, so we have a little thing called the Three Castles Award we award every year for the best OSR product, and so he's actually won two. He's won for Forbidden Caverns of Achaia won one. Barrel Maze maybe should have won one, but it was some really tough competition there. I believe it was Jeff Delaney's Hyperborea and Jeff D's Cave Master. I mean, there was some good competition that year, but Dwarf Deep won last year too. So it's a phenomenal product. We're having a blast with it, and but yes, and that's one thing that I really love about the OSR in particular, about D&D in general, or is it the other way around? If you sit down, one D&D game is pretty much like another game, unless you're playing third edition, which I still can't figure out how to roll characters for third edition without spending 2 hours doing it. But yeah, if you sit down and play, you can take an adventure, a mega dungeon like Barrel Maze, or even like some of the original stuff that we love, like I don't know, S1 or S2, and you can play it almost any edition with very little change. Like I said, unless you're playing third edition, then it's bit of a muddle. But that's one of the reasons I think 5e was so popular. It really converts pretty well to old school and vice versa. I mean, that's the first edition since 2e that I've been able to pick up a 5th edition adventure module. Say, okay, I can run this old school. I just need to change this, and this, no problem. So I think that's one of the reasons 5e had so much popularity too. It was that easy to pick up, and it was that easy to run. And I think the industry's, it seems with the rise of the OSR and the fall of WotC and Hasbro, that maybe we're going to move back towards that more simpler, easier to play, pick up and run type of D&D, which I hope we are. I hope that's what we eventually end up with again. I don't look forward to going to conventions and trying to roll up a 3rd edition character at the table because
Oh no.
Well, you can't even do that.
That's why I run Swords with Relight, so I can have my players generate characters in 10 minutes. They actually have their own character. That's I can run the game without looking at the rules because it's only 4 pages and I wrote it. But
Well, I was going to say you got. So I want to talk about something else, Ron, about a page, and one of the things that really. So you and I talk. We talk a lot during the year, just
Sure.
off the screen, kind of. And you were talking about this charitable thing you're doing, and it just blew me away because it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. Because last year, Jim Kitchen and I have been trying to help out Darlene, who has had some major issues with her house. And long story short, her husband died several years ago. Her husband really did everything, a lot of things for her for the house. The house is falling apart. It's a very old Victorian style mansion, and so we've been raising money through auctions and stuff to help her out. Just to basically get the place painted, get the roof fixed, and then you started talking about this charitable thing you're starting out, and it just blew me away. I was like, we need this so bad. So if you could talk about that, Ron, it's a great idea, and I absolutely back it 100%. It's awesome.
Sure, and just to touch on what you were just saying, Darlene is one case, but we can go up and down the roster of people who are in the gaming industry in the 70s and 80s, and unless they did something else in life and they weren't a professional game designer, they've got very little now. There were no pensions, there wasn't any of that. So to see so many of them struggling, artists and content creators struggling that way, it was very troubling. And you would always see it, and it breaks your heart. You see somebody with a GoFundMe because they can't pay for a car repair or something like that, and this is somebody who was an icon in the industry, so to speak. I just think the industry did some people dirty, and I'm not going to point at any companies, but it did some people dirty, and some people, stayed in it for the love of it, right? Not for the money. They stayed in it for the love of it, and now they're hurting on the back end. So our idea was to raise money through our auction or through direct contributions for something we call the Gamer Assistance Program, or GAP, and it's basically help fill a gap. They have a medical bill they can't cover, they have house repairs they can't meet, they have utility bills they can't meet. They can go ahead and they can put in a request and explain their situation, and we have a 7-person committee that oversees that funding. We managed to raise $9,355 this year in our first year. We're pretty happy with that, and we can certainly help some people out. It's not necessarily just for people who were working for a manufacturer. I mean, you see some longtime game store managers, and the store closes up or whatever happens, and they're not doing that well. One person comes to mind who worked at Chessex, and later Games Workshop, is going back to school, and there's been some struggles financially there, and that was kind of the inspiration. Like, what are we going to do? We need to do some good with this. It's one of my non-negotiables. Okay, let's keep it in the industry, but it could be somebody, like a Jason Zavoda. There's a perfect example of somebody.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, his house was falling down around him, literally, and it would have been nice to have been doing this 10 years ago and being able to go over there and say, "Hey, Jason, we're coming in to put a new roof on this place," or "Hey, Jason, we're gonna spend for a year of in-house housekeeping," whatever it is. There's somebody who dedicated a lot of himself to the hobby, not necessarily with the manufacturer, but he would fit right into that criteria. And I'm pretty happy with the folks we have, or not pretty happy, I'm very happy with the folks we have on our Gamer Assistance Program committee. A lot of names you'll recognize, Matt Shoemaker.
Our buddy Joe Block.
Joe Block, exactly. Ryan Morgan, who's a big collector out there, yeah. and David Johnson, who's great, a lot of fun, and we have a nice committee, and we're actually starting to review some of the applications we've received recently, and we're going that going forward with it, and we're pretty happy with it.
I love that you're doing that. I mean, anybody who watches this channel, has been following the blog, knows that when we have the GoFundMes, I often try to do matches. Mm-hmm. I always consider myself blessed. I have a government pension behind me, and I get to enjoy this hobby. I don't have to worry about how to monetize things. I just have to worry about how to do things right. And I like to do matches. You did it for Darlene. I did it for others. And supporting people in this industry, in this community, I should say, not the industry, in the community, is what it should be about. And that is a great nonprofit to have going.
Yeah. And I like, you mentioned Jason Zavoda, and so he and I go way back. I first met him on AOL forums in the early 90s, and we were one of the first people that bought, sell, and traded RPGs online. I mean, that was me, Jason Zavoda, Sages Guild. There were about 3 or 4 other people.
Right.
And so I got to know him. Back then he was running a comic store. Great guy. He had a lot of health problems later in life, but he was a huge collector. He was a big backer for North Texas. He went to the first North Texas RPG Con. He bought, I think, Ron, you eventually ended up purchasing a collection. He had a lot of North Texas stuff in there, didn't he? Because he was a huge North Texas collector. I mean, he loved the con.
He did, and I feel like I saved that collection, so to speak, because it had fallen into the hands of literally professional scavengers
Yeah,
who
you
were trying to
absolutely
sell it.
saved it. No,
Yeah, they
behind
were
the
trying to
scenes,
sell
yeah,
it on eBay, and
yeah, you
one
absolutely
thing I'll
saved
say for his collection, a lot of it was incomplete. Or I'm sure he had a good pile and a bad pile, but they eventually merged together.
it.
So when I tell you the tonnage of stuff, and to have to go through and disinfect some of the things literally because they had been rodent mauled and things like
He
that.
lives in terrible. Yeah, his living conditions were really, and that would have been somebody like you said, Ron. Absolutely could have benefited by something like this because he was a great asset to the community. Just the nicest guy. He was a good writer too. If you ever read any of his writing, he
Yeah,
wrote some stuff
yeah.
that I picked up off of Amazon, and if it's still there, it's absolutely worth getting. I don't know if it's still up or not, but
Well,
he just a great guy, just a great dude, but had lots of health issues, had diabetes, and it got worse and worse, and his living conditions deteriorated. His relatives were really of no help, and they really did not help him or assist him, and they also thought that collecting D&D was a joke, and just there's a lot of problems with it. So that would
yeah.
have absolutely been somebody I would have loved to help. But I think this is such a great program because a lot of these guys, they don't have a good. It's not like like comic book industry. The comic book industry, a lot of these places they have like pensions set up, kind of, or they have things like this. That basically when these comic book artists get old, and there's a lot of comic book artists that told away in the days of work for pay, and they don't own their characters. Very famously, guys like Ditko didn't own Spider-Man, and Kirby didn't own Fantastic Four, even though they were instrumental in the creation of them. And so there was programs set up to try to help these guys the older they got because they didn't have anything to fall back on. All they had was their craft, their writing or their artistry. The same thing with a lot of these D&D guys, right? I mean, a lot of them just worked in the industry and worked and worked and worked, and at a certain point they couldn't work anymore due to health reasons or whatever.
Right.
And it's good we can help those guys out. It really is nice that you're setting that up, Ron. I think that's awesome.
I saw a comment pop up in the comments box just now. I would like to address that. Somebody
Yeah.
asked a question, like, hey, what's your succession plan with Paige? There it is there. Okay. So what's the succession plan? To be honest, Mr. Gunn, there's no succession plan right now. We ran a first year. We ran with Mike said we had employees. We don't have employees. We have volunteers, a good group of volunteers. And, I went back and leaned on people that I used to work with, 25, 30 years ago at conventions, and not everybody's the same as they used to be. And, that became evident quickly. Volunteers stepped up. Some volunteers who you hoped would be, take on big roles didn't take on the roles you had hoped. And I don't think we're going to have that succession plan until we're 3 years in. I can tell you that, I'm encouraged by the group that really came through at the convention, and there were a bunch of people. Some of them are watching here. I don't want to mention names because I'll miss somebody and there will be feelings hurt. But, anybody who was wearing a yellow shirt at that convention, they worked hard and they put in the time. And one of the things I promised people is that this is your opportunity to be on the ground floor in your local region on a convention that has backing and is going to continue. So it's an opportunity for you to put your fingerprint on something. If you, and this isn't a knock at any other convention that's well established, but once it's well established, your ability to make a big impression on that and help steer it, it's a little more difficult because people are kind of running their own ways. So some people have taken that to heart, and we've got some key volunteers. And as I see what that looks like after year 3, and I see 3 consistent years, then I'll have a succession plan in place. The first key is going to be naming the key number 2 people. And I think that's coming. I think you can look in the background over this shoulder here. You see somebody waving there in the background. That's my wife Jen.
Unpaid employee.
Unpaid employee.
Oh, okay, yeah,
There
that's
you go.
too. Smart. That's smart.
She took on a big role this year, but I think she feels the same way I do. People step up, and you're going to be, for the volunteers, we're going to work with them, work with the ones that work, and the ones that don't work, that's okay. Not everybody's going to contribute the same. Not everybody's equal on all things, but the ones that are putting in the time and the effort, they're going to be the ones that have a lot of input in the way the convention moves going forward, and then eventually those names will reveal themselves. So I hope that answers your question there about what our plan is. I can tell you it's not far from my mind at any time.
Well, first of all, Guns busting your balls there, because the man just had his first convention. Give him a little time to figure this out before you start asking for a succession plan, because the part you said about volunteers revealing stuff is very close to my heart too, Rob, because every year, and you probably run into this too in your travels, you always have all these people that say, hey, what do you need? I will help you out. I'll do this. I'll be here or whatever. And then when the day comes, 20 people tell you they're going to be there and 5 show up. And that's kind of the nature of the beast, right?
It's the funeral. It's the funeral. It's the funeral thing. Let me know if you need anything.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, as a matter of fact, okay, I'll see you later. Like as a matter of, right. So I get it. But I also get that. Listen, they're volunteers. But for my part, I'm not looking to make money at this. I'm looking to not lose money and looking to do some good with it. And so, I also need to make sure any volunteers coming on board for the future. Okay, Mr. Gunn, we got you. You're all good, man. You're all good.
But you are a ball breaker, you mother.
Yeah, settle down. But people know that my heart's in the right place here, and I want people who are aligned with that moving forward. And we do have several that are out there, and we've got guys like Pete Flagg and Brendan Weir. They did a lot of work at the convention. Phil Wart, I think some of you guys might know Phil Wart. Another guy who tremendously stepped up. A couple people from my gaming group surprised me and did a lot of work there. Here's somebody messaging me. Oh, here we go. It's Phil Wart, who's not listening, so he didn't hear all the great things. When he circles back and listens to it later, he will hear that I said he's a great guy, and that's somebody who I think will step up and do a lot of great things for us. He's really helping out with some of the special guest stuff this year, along with David Johnson, and as well as GM recruitment, things like that. William Smith's another guy who he's helping with GM recruitment this year, and our staff at the registration counter, led by my lovely wife, who's we had people who stepped up in such a huge way and really took the bull by the horns up there. So I feel very lucky in that sense.
Well, the year that Doug passed away, it was very unexpected, and so Gary and I are there a week before the con, and we're being told that Doug can't attend the con. And Doug was a very hands-on guy, very hands-on. Sorry, we're breaking up here. I'm still kind of emotional about it, but Doug's very very hands-on guy, and so Gary and I are like, okay, we got a week. We're gonna do, and it was amazing. The people that stepped up, and I would like to personally, two of the people were Zach and Jen Glazer, who really absolutely just stepped up and said, look, what do you guys need? But they meant it. They actually meant it, and actually stepped up. Gary's wife, Lisa, stepped up, and she is not a gamer, is not into gaming, but just okay. Well, Gary's into it. I'm going to try to do it, and my wife was grandkid wrangler because I could not spend. I usually spend a lot of time during the convention hanging out with my grandkids. I couldn't that year, and like I said, it was amazing. People just kind of came out of nowhere almost. They go to the convention every year, but that year they were like, you know what? We realized, you basically, you and Gary have to do this with only a week's notice. What do you need, and we'll do it. And there's so many people. It's like you say, Ron. You hate to leave somebody out. Tom Wilson was great. He helped us out quite a bit with donations. Bill Barsh is always there for us. Bill and his son Ben. You're right, John Ron. I'm going to leave somebody out. I'm going to kick myself later, but just those.
Yeah,
like I
tough.
said, but and we didn't know this was going to happen. That Doug wasn't going to be there the year he wasn't. He was in the hospital that year, and it was just amazing, the people that just said, no, we love North Texas. We love you guys. What do you guys need? We're going to step up. We're going to help you. And you really can't plan on that, So you talk about succession, stuff. It's hard to figure that out until you have a few years under your belt and you can say, okay, you know what? I can rely on this person. This person has shown up every year and they're doing this and they're over here with this. And I don't have to constantly, that's another thing is when you have volunteers, we have Chris Fuller and his son show up every year, and we don't really. So Chris's big job is he goes around all the tables and switches out the whatever the thing on the table, the schedule.
Right.
We didn't teach him to do that, or okay, we're going to do it, and you follow behind to see how it's done. He just started doing it one year, and his son started doing it. We said, great, you know what, you're a volunteer, because you've done this like 3 or 4 years in a row now. You guys know what you're doing, and you're doing it, and I know you're just doing it out of the good of your heart, because we're not paying you anything, or
Right.
And so he just became like, okay, boom, you're a volunteer. We're going to we're going to comp you some stuff, and we appreciate your help. He didn't ask for anything. Didn't say, hey, I'll do this, but I need some money, or I need some consideration. And those are the best kind of volunteers, the ones that just pop up and they start doing stuff for you. You're like, wow, this guy has really made this convention a lot easier to run.
Yeah, some of the folks that stepped up, sometimes Doug getting sick and everything. You're always going to find people, you've heard the term every port in a storm, any port in a storm, right? Well, there are people who will bring the port to you when you have a storm. And, it sounds like you were lucky enough to have that. For me, a guy named Mike DiBenedetto and another guy in my local game group, Chris Germanio, they really did a lot. Just putting together the infrastructure for, our Wi-Fi network and being able to run our registration desk and our printers and everything. Like, they just stepped up and they did it. And, I didn't have to twist their arms to do it. Really grateful for the volunteers out there. And, I'm grateful for the guests we had come out. You mentioned Bill Barsh, right? So, imagine somebody going to Bill and saying, hey, I'm going to run a new convention this year. I want you to come to Philadelphia. And he and Ben had the faith to do that and come out. But not only that, but, as the weekends was going on, I was pretty sick, like physically sick. So, the auction comes up and, you know what? Bill jumped right in, helped the auctioneer, did a great job. He's now been drafted to help with the auctioneering every year, whether he knows it or not.
That's why you don't volunteer for stuff. That's what happens when you volunteer for things.
That's right. And there's one other person I'd like to mention real quick who did a great thing for us at the convention. We had a local vendor who was supplying a board game library, and it didn't work out for whatever reason. And I was sitting there putting together my board game collection and setting it up as the library, and I actually got convinced Bill Dufton to drive up from Texas with a carload of board games, and he really came through in a big way, and I can't, I mean, it meant the world to me because I was concerned, because I only have, a couple hundred board games. So, he was able to, supplement that with another 400 or 500. I don't know how he fit them all into his Hyundai, whatever little SUV he drives. But, Mike, I know you don't fly, but I still like the idea of Bad Mike, Ingo Schuerman, and Bill Dufton in a van, filmed driving to Philadelphia each year, and then we chop it up and put it into a little documentary of the three nerds and 1,200 miles. I think it sounds pretty good.
I would kill Ingo within 24 hours, and then I would kill Bill within 48 hours. Bill would last a little longer. Now, I want to tell you, Ron,
Bill's very crafty. He might outsmart you. I don't know.
He could, yeah. I'm not going to give myself a big chance here, but I have talked to Steve Getty, for those who know Guppy, our buddy that comes to North Texas, and he has said that if I want to drive there next year, he'd be willing to do the drive with me. Now, I could hang out with Guppy for 3 days or a couple of days without killing him, because we hang out a lot up here in Texas. So if I can get Getty to commit, I think I may take the ride up with Getty next year, and we may surprise you guys there. Weather depending, though.
Getty lives right up the street from Dufton, though. You guys could all carpool, like they live in the same town.
Boy, you're asking a lot of me, man. Those guys. See, Eric can tell you this. I like to talk a lot, and I think those guys talk more than I do. So I don't know if I can get a word in edgewise, and I'd be listening. Ingo would be talking the whole time about, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, stop, Ingo!" And then Bill would be talking when Ingo wasn't talking, and then I'd probably the third best talker there. Then poor Getty wouldn't get a word in edgewise. But
think of the positive side for the charity. Guppy would be so frustrated with Ingo by the time he got to Pennsylvania that he would be jacking up every one of Ingo's bids.
Now that's the beauty. Now you would see some. That would be some sweet, because Guppy is not above that at all, and you'd see some sweet revenge there. Because I heard that Ingo dropped quite a bit of money for the auction this year.
He did. He wasn't the top buyer though.
Well, he needs a little competition. Those guys need competition. They need to have Getty and myself, a couple other guys, run up there so they're not getting all the best stuff. So.
Guppy was scheduled to come, and then something happened with his job at the last minute.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, one of the classic things, and Ingo's a very sweet man. I love him.
I love it. I love Ingo. I'm just giving him a hard time. So.
But he's sitting in the front row at the auction. And he's a big fish in the room. He's bidding on everything. And every time somebody would outbid him, this is what it looked like.
What are you doing?
It would be like, who is that who just bid against me and I cannot see? And a couple of the guys in my game group who were working the auction, they can't stop talking about that. It's like the look of, this person has the look on their face that Ingo had when he got outbid on something.
So Ron, when you get to North Texas, and I hope you're going to come this year, when we have our auction, that's not quite the. I mean, it's only an hour and a half, not the 8 hours you guys have. No, I'm just kidding. The 3 hours you guys had, but
marathon.
You have some of the biggest collectors in the industry. You've got your Bill Meinhardt and your Alex Kamer and your Ingo and your Getty and whatever. And man, it's great because you get the.
Yeah.
Because they're like, because a lot of those guys, okay, with collecting there comes ego, Ron, and all these guys think that it needs to be in my collection because I'm obviously the biggest collector here, and so when they're like, I'm gonna win this for the collection, and then somebody starts bidding against them, it's who's bidding against? This is mine.
Yeah.
Listen,
I'm that way. You know what a big miniatures guy I am, and. I'm that way on eBay. I just want to reach through the screen sometimes and say, who is this bidding this up? I'm spending stupid money and they're still bidding me up. Who is this? But, you mentioned Alex, and not to give away all the new guests this year, but Alex is a guest this year at the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo.
He's a
as
great
well.
guy. I guess
Yeah,
in North
so,
Texas, he's a great,
you know,
great guy. Great guy. Yeah.
And I think it's great that you know, North Texas and Gamehole Con and Page, you know, coming in as the new kid on the block, but you know, being recognized that we're doing a good thing here. I like the fact that we're talking, because I see them as like kindred convention styles. And as far as North Texas, I would like to get out this year. Let me just let me go to my handy dandy calendar. You were the weekend of the 21st, correct?
No, we're June 9th. It's actually the second weekend in June this year. It's usually the first, but it's the first Thursday in
June
June.
9th.
So I think it's June.
So Saturday the 9th.
Yeah, so it's 8, 7,
I
June 7th.
I am open.
Ooh.
And I have
Now we
airline
also
miles.
have a Wednesday night pre-con Get It On, which a lot of people say is essential to attend too. So we actually start the festivities Wednesday night. If you could ever get up Wednesday night, you would be having fun that night too, because we have that's unscripted, unscheduled games, and we actually have a blast. So it's basically Wednesday through Sunday.
And I'd suggest the same thing to you too for Paige, that you try to get out Thursday night. You know, we'll bring you in. You'll come to that dinner, and I know Frank's going to run a game for every guest at the dinner. I believe everybody dies within like 10 minutes. So,
Oh, well, no, that's convenient.
That sounds like.
but we have there's a special bonus for the 12 players who die first, and that'll be Jeff D and Manda running 2 tables of Cave Master for the
nice.
staff at guests as well, and then our regular gaming for our top, like we call it a gold badge holder. There will be a track from 8 to midnight that night, and you know, at the hotel, not at our convention center, but at the hotel, and there'll be a round of games there, and I'm sure a lot of the special guests are going to be running games, you know, on that Thursday night track for, you know, because it'll be a little less stressful, I guess, than running over at the convention center.
Well, I noticed you've already been announced. So it's just February, and you've already been announcing special guests for next year, which is, I think that's very much a page on Doug's book, because Doug used to love to sign people up the month after the con. He'd be calling people up, going, "Hey, can you be a guest next year?" Which is where Gary and I are a little lazier, and let's wait a couple months. Let's not, I don't want to bother these guys right away. But Doug was just like you. Nope, I'm gonna I need to know what's going to happen next year, and I need to know who's going to be here next year, and I'm going to plan this right now. And I just think it's funny, because people will be like, "Doug, dude, it's 12 months. I don't know what I'm going to be doing next year."
But
just say yes. Just say yes. Yes.
You know what? I've got people jumping up and down asking me when I'm opening game submissions, and you know, I'm going to have to open them early, because you know, enthusiasm's high coming off the convention. You know, you've got that little bit of euphoria, I'll call it, where people are still real happy and they're in a good place from the convention. But you know, we're almost sold out of dealer space already, and I'm not talking about commitments. I'm talking about people with, you know, I've got like 6 spots left out of 47 for next January. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And people are like, "Well, just make the dealer's room bigger." I'm like, you know, not this year.
It doesn't work that way usually. It's like there's a certain amount of space. It's gotta just make it bigger.
You know, the vendors have to make money. And you know, year one, I can't. You know, I couldn't fill that. I could have sold the vendors room out 70 times over again. I had so many vendors on the waiting list. But am I really doing a service to the vendors by bringing them in and taking their money? And you know, I didn't know how many people were going to come. I was hoping for 500. We got more.
Absolutely.
That was great.
Yeah,
but
you want to make the vendors happy. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you know, I'm kind of going in with this attitude. It's a 365-day promotion, and so you know, I let a couple guests out of the bag here, and you know, I'm going to need a headshot from you, and now that you're agreeing to come with Guppy.
Damn.
Hold on.
Wait,
hold on.
I actually
the headshot right here. I got it. There it is.
Yeah, great. Yeah, great.
Yeah,
But
you
the
agree, Mike.
but I think the the key is you got to keep people interested and make them feel like it's a community, because it is.
Yeah.
And you want your convention to be a community, and I think we're doing that. But you can't just be a community when it's time to ask them to pay for a badge or show up at the convention
Sure,
or run a
yeah.
game. Like it needs to continue throughout the year, and so we try to post something every day. I did bring on somebody to help out with the some of the young people social media, as I like to call it, like TikTok and
All those
somebody's
crazy
definitely say this,
TikTokers and
Instagram.
yeah.
So we've got a young lady who's handling that now, and I have no idea how it works, and I'm not going to try to understand it. She seems to have it under control. But we're just trying to keep it fresh and relevant for everybody, and especially in the local area. I mean, as great as the reception was from the from the traveling crowd, I'll call it, the local gamers really adopted the convention as well. And there's been a lot of good things said about the convention out there. And let's face it, we're all gamers. A lot of us are type A personalities. And often we know people, can find something to complain about, if they were swimming in a vat of milk chocolate, right? So, but you know what? I really haven't heard that much. And, I was even trying to get, it's like, tell me something bad. I want to hear something bad. I want to hear what we can do better. I mean, I was really driving people for that. And, it was like trying to literally steal it from their soul to have them say something bad, which, it makes me happy in one sense, but, I want to make sure that every year we're fixing and improving things to make it better.
No, I was going to harken back to something you said earlier too, Ron, about talking to Alex and me and this and that. It works. I think what works out really good is you have a lot of really, really good, I guess. I'm not talking about the top tier conventions like Gary Con and Dragon Con. Those are, I call those entertainment cons now. They're not really game cons at this point. They're just entertainment cons. But
hold on, cut that. Gary Con's not a real game convention. Can you cut that?
I'm sorry. I meant
you know how many clicks you can get on this?
Gen Con. No, Gen Con.
I'm kidding. Yes.
Gen Con and Dragon Con and San Diego Comic Con, that kind of con. I'm talking about the mid tier stuff like Gary Con and Page and Gamehole Con and us. And so it works so great because none of us really. I think we all do something really different, and I think we don't necessarily compete with each other. So I think that helps a lot because I know when I want to talk about something about a con, I'll usually talk to Alex, Alex and I, because I don't know what he does. He's supposedly a lawyer, but he's always close to a computer where I can get a hold of him. So I'm like, dude, did you hear about this, or what do you think about this? And he always has really good advice, and he'll ask me for advice too. And I feel the same way doing it, with you and Luke Gygax also.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really cool that we have this community of conventions, or kind of like smaller tier conventions. With us being we're the smallest of the tier. I mean, 500 people, obviously, but even with Gary Con has about 3,000, and I know Alex this year, I think he was up to 5,000. I think that we're all doing something different, and we're all doing something really helpful to the gaming community.
Right.
Because we're actually putting on, like you said something else that really struck me too, when you said, like, look, we're not in this to make money. We just want to put on a great con, and absolutely that is definitely the modus operandi of North Texas. I mean, we are absolutely not in this to make any money. This is, as long as we make enough money to put on every con, and we're able to put some away. Now, Doug kind of financed the con out of his own pocket. Gary and I are being a little more methodical. Okay, we need to start saving some money and putting it away so every year we can draw on the money, and that's what we've been doing. And as long as we're financially able to keep our heads above water, we'll keep running the con forever. And when you start getting into, and we'll talk about this during Gaming Stupid too, when you start making stupid amounts of money, sometimes you react stupidly and you do
Yeah.
stupid things. Like I said, we'll talk about that a little later. But I think this is just the perfect size for. I don't know how big you guys want to get, Ron. I mean, what size you want to get to, but I think the size all these conventions are now is really really great for the community, and it's a real workable amount of gamers and attendees to get in one room or get into one gaming facility.
Yeah, I hate to keep stressing this point. It has to be fun, or I'm not going to do it.
Right.
And if it becomes
Absolutely.
frustrating, I'm not going to do it. So, could I go and rent, 100,000 square feet and fill it with vendors and sell tickets and attract all these local people from the region and probably do a very good job making money? I could. That's not the vision for what I have for this. I want it to be fun. I want it to be primarily RPG based. I want it to have an array of systems, not just the newest and latest stuff. I don't want it to become, it's not a collectible card game show. It's not going to have.
Yes.
I'm. We have some miniatures gaming, but it's always going to be secondary to the RPG stuff, because that's what's near and dear to my heart, and that's what's fun for me. I mean, if it's just about making money, then I can hop back out on my crab boat and just start pulling up 400 crab pots a day and make plenty of money, or I make plenty of money working for the Carpenters Union. It's not about that. It's got to be fun, and I have to feel happy there. And one of the things my wife said to me at the convention and after the convention is that you had a smile on your face the entire time, and that it wasn't a painted smile. It was I was happy. I was happy interacting with the gamers, and one of her suggestions, hey, what can we do to get better? Her thing is get out of the way, because you want to talk to everybody when they come in. You want to have conversations with people when they're in the registration line, and thank them for coming. And her attitude is, you stand behind, and then after we get them in, then you talk to them. I'm like, yeah, but I'm enthusiastic. I see people I know,
Yeah.
and I'm thankful they're there, and I want to take time.
Be thankful over there.
I want to take time, and Ben Barsh. One of the things we're going to do to raise money for charity this year is going to be we're going to put him up for auction for a date with a young lady at the convention.
Oh dear.
The hair.
Look at him leaning up against the wall there in that picture. Look at that.
Swipe left or swipe right. That's not my generation, but I've heard about it.
Listen, a lot of the young girls, I don't know which way is the proper way if you're interested, but I think there'd be a lot of vicious competition for that date with Ben Barsh, and he's going back home the next night, so you never know what's going to happen.
Look, I may put in a bid because I need a wingman for the bar later on, so I may just have to bid on him so I can get my wingman up for Philly. So.
Well, listen, I really want to see you up there. I really want Guppy to be there. I mean, let me tell you, he and I do a lot of other trading, of stuff, and hey, do you have a spare this? And he does, and hey, Ron, do you have a spare that? Yes, we do, and that's a great relationship there, and would love to have you guys up there. I just I will
do everything possible. I will do everything possible to make it there, Ron.
I still think the video of the drive is a way to go. I still think we can cut that up in the great. Why
would I film the murder of me murdering Ingo? I'm not going to film that, because then it's on tape for everybody to see.
Think of the Netflix documentary money that could be made off of that.
I think people would be bored out of their skull to see us idiots driving.
Listen, if they watched Tiger King,
that had murder in it. That had murder and betrayal.
it did have murder,
but it had wild animals too. I'm not going to carry a tiger in the car with me. I mean, that's a great idea.
Listen, it had a lot of sex. Anything can happen.
Oh, you never know. I wouldn't rule that out, the car trip, by any means. So I don't know. Eric, is it time to start talking about something else at this point, or
we could go into Mike's feeling a bit uncomfortable right now. It's like tell me on bad Mike where the co-host touched you, right there. Go ahead, Mike. Do the segue.
So give us the essential knowledge we need to know right now, Ron, for Paige. When is it next year, and when is registration and all that good stuff going to start?
Sure. It's January 16th through the 19th, which is Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. It's at the Greater Philadelphia Convention Center at Oaks and the Hilton Garden Inn, which is across the parking lot there. We've got space in both venues. We're probably going to start taking game registration as early as March. And then there will be early bird registration, shortly thereafter. Once we get a populated game schedule, we'll open it up to that. Our guest lists, we're going to continue to kind of release them one at a time, every 2-3 days as we move forward. We're also releasing some of the vendors we have. We've got Troll Lord Games coming out this year, and they're going to be running 6 to 8 tables on their own.
Good deal.
Of course, Pace Setters there, BRW's there, Goodman Games, Frog God Games, Uni Games with Jeff E. Who, I've mentioned this, but what a fantastic, what a fantastic guest he is. Yeah, one of the great things is we had a COVID strike, basically whipping through some of the game masters. So I actually ended up running a game Friday night. I ran Barrow Maze, which I'm very familiar with, but I had to sit in for somebody, and I'm sitting there, and we're getting everybody ready, and here comes Jeff over to the table. Sits. Can I sit in? Of course you could sit in. Absolutely. Very, very, very thrilling there. But he took time out with everybody, and what a great guy. Really.
Yeah, Jeff and Matt are great. We have them every year at North Texas, and they're great. One thing I like about Jeff is that he gets there, and he's a very popular game master because he runs Villains and Vigilantes, which not a lot of people run or do, and Mando run Cave Master, which is a really excellent game system. So they're not just running just another D&D game. I mean, they're actually running games that not a lot of people run, and they do a really great job. They're very, very good at it too. So we appreciate both of them as very, very good guests every year.
And I guess the only other thing people need to know is that the website is phillygamingexpo.com. And you can kind of see some of the vendors that are starting to get lined up. And I would say sometime around March 1st, we'll start taking some game submissions and at least creating the backbone of what the convention is going to look like through the early game submissions.
Well, it sounds like you guys are on the ball, and definitely wish you guys good luck. And like I said, I will do everything possible to make it there this year, especially since I can't let Eric hog the attention himself, by flaunting his special guest status there. So
Hey, if Mike, actually, I would show up on Thursday. You'll probably show up. We'd have to still do our talk and crit, maybe from the road.
Ooh,
from a hotel room, we'd have to be doing it. There you go.
Always love the on the road talking crit. Those are always great. Yes, we had.
We'll slot you in for one of the seminar spots for sure.
Ooh, oh, Mike, doing a live show with a live audience.
Mm.
We could do a special on Friday. We could, that could work.
Are we ready for that? Well, we kind of do that every year with the whiskey tasting. So yes, I guess we could do that, couldn't we? We could definitely do that. Yeah. We're good at that. We do the whiskey tasting every year. That by the way, went horribly wrong last year, but still.
Well, it went horribly wrong because it was planned to go horribly wrong. All right, so our whiskey coordinator got the best whiskey. Not beers.
Yeah,
whiskey.
it was a miscalculation. It turns out that Germany has only been making whiskey the last 30 years, and by the way, they still haven't figured it out yet. They're not very good at doing it yet. So that was an issue. But no, we had a blast doing that. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is definitely going to be a successful con going forward, unless I don't know, you have a gigantic snowstorm there next year, and all the airports are shut down or something. Cross fingers, it doesn't happen.
We'll game through it.
There you go.
Game through it.
As long as you can get there, you're good, right?
If SnowCon can do it, if SnowCon can do it, you guys. Listen,
again, for those of us that drove across the country year after year after year for Winter Fantasy, Wisconsin in January was no joke, right? So, I mean, we still managed to make it.
All right. Well, if I have to put on my snowshoes, like I said, I went to SnowCon in Maine in January once. If I could do that, I could probably do anything. So yeah, that we'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens. We'll see what I got on the agenda next year. So Eric, we still got a good 40 minutes here. I wanted to talk about a couple of things, and Ron can talk about these with us. We had a couple of articles.
The ball is in your court, Mike. The ball is in your court.
There was an article that that popped up yesterday about the financial issues at Hasbro, and I read this. It was kind of shocked me. A couple of things we kind of knew, but I don't think we knew the extent of the issues. But there was an article in looking for the link.
I had a bunch of links up that I closed right before we got in.
Oh, well, I can tell. We can tell we've done this before. Definitely, we know exactly what we're doing.
I didn't. I wasn't thinking, Michael. Hold on.
I closed them too. I closed them just as bad as you did. So, just as quickly as you did, I closed them.
All right, hold on.
Damn it!
All right. So here, I'm going to put 3 links into the chat because they are all relevant.
Yes.
And
here I found
hopefully it all fits into the frickin' chat. Oh, there it goes. Oh, well, it made it into too damn all right. Well, in any case, there's an article on Yahoo, which goes, and the article on.
And that was from. By the way, that was from Barron's Financial too. So this is not this isn't just some bozo on the street. This is right. Barron's, and like you said, it's been reported several financial sites too. So. Basically, the fourth quarter earnings for Hasbro came out along with the full year 2023 financials, and wow, it was it's not good.
No, the highlights are, really I believe, bad. A 20% revenue loss for 2023, a projected 3 to 5% loss in Hasbro, or not a loss, but lower revenue, 3 to 5%. Now remember, the reason why WotC and their digital gaming were highlights last year is because of Baldur's Gate 3 and the Druid Man-Bear sex scenes.
I don't know if people bought it because of that, but that was...
well, come on, that was in the trailer video.
I don't think that was the draw, really.
This is what that audience wants. Yes, you all want. We know. So if it wasn't for Baldur's Gate 3, WotC would have been a money-losing proposition for them.
And Baldur's Gate 3, I mean, it won lots of Game of the Year awards. I mean, it was huge. By the way, it pretty much saved the company because the movie didn't make any money, and I think they were really expecting big things out of the movie. the product didn't make any money, and yeah, you had the White Knight was the movie, or I'm sorry, the video game rushing to the rescue right there.
Right, and the video game was licensing fees. They didn't produce it.
Yeah.
Right. I think Mike Merles, who got fired in the last purge, he had some he was a consultant on it, but that's what put free money in their pockets, and this is what Mike and I, Professor DM, even the pundit, we've all been saying this because we've all been observing the future for D&D 5e or D&D 2024, D&D forever is not your tabletop. There'll still be books. They're not going away, but they're not going to be printed like they had been. The future is digital, and that's where it's going to be going. And this is just them. This is them being reinforced that yes, we got to pivot to digital because physical is killing us.
A couple of things I'd like to highlight. So, well, first thing is, it blew my mind that the fourth quarter loss was $1 billion. That's a B. That is a lot of money to lose for any company.
That's like Ukraine money. Yeah,
close. But I mean, and then the other thing that I don't know if you remember, but remember at the end of 2022, what did they say at their stockholder meeting at the end? Remember that they said they wanted to have 20% rise in volume. You remember what I'm talking? You know what I'm talking about, right? They had that big meeting at the end of, and they said they were undermonetized.
A year ago, they were talking that D&D was going to become a $1 billion brand,
right?
And they were going to. Even back then they were talking about less brands making more money, and they were talking about that D&D was under monetized. And pretty much too many players, not enough DMs. The DMs spend all the money. So how do you turn players into DMs and spend money? Well, you're going to put out the VTT and they'll have to subscribe. So, but yeah, they also talked that 20% thing rings a bell, but I don't recall what particularly it was about. But yeah, they were expecting a much better year than they got, and
which is weird because now they're kind of pivoting and saying, well, we knew this was going to happen, and we're trying to get down to 2019 levels, pre-COVID, because, during COVID, they hired more people. They made a lot of money during COVID. They increased their staff. They did a lot of things. And so now they're going back down to those pre-COVID levels. And now they're acting like, oh, this is kind of a part of our plan. We want to get back to 2019 levels, and I don't know. Just something rings funny with that with me because that wasn't what they said last year.
No,
last year was like, oh man, we're expanding, we're gonna do this, that, and then suddenly it's
we're
like,
gonna keep getting bigger and better.
I'm sorry, I read here they didn't just lose $1 billion; they lost $1.29 billion. So, and of course, the stock
rounding error,
rounding error.
Good point.
Yeah, that rounding error could keep me very happy for a long time. But it's $1.29 billion, and they their stock tanked after that. So, but yeah, I just think it's very interesting because that's kind of what we've all been seeing and what we've all been hearing anyway behind the scenes, and so it wasn't really a huge surprise. But I think it goes into this whole narrative that you and I have been talking about, and a lot of the other people, Professor DM, a lot of the people have been talking about, is that, this is a make or break year for this company in terms of where they're going to go. And they've already screwed it up because, as we talked about last week, the 50th anniversary, they're not even going to come out with the complete rule set for the 50th anniversary. It's going to be
until 51st anniversary.
Yeah.
Just look at it this way.
Bungled marketing opportunity by not capitalizing on the 50th anniversary. They've done very little. Maybe they can pull it out, if they just look back in the past and see what, TSR did in the past to be successful, they can put out a crap load of Buck Rogers stuff and turn the fortunes down right away.
Ron, that's a terrible plan. That's a terrible plan, Ron.
Somewhere there's a high pitched buzz in Lorraine's ear right now at the mention of Buck Rogers.
Mosquito, yeah. No, I mean, yeah, and so we've been talking. This their futures in VTT. They've made no bones about the fact that they're definitely missing a huge marketing opportunity this year. Um, I'm not surprised. I mean, I don't think Eric's surprised either because the way things have gone the
Well,
last year, they don't seem to be really hitting the mark on almost anything. I mean,
well,
they have some stuff coming out. They've got the John Peterson book out, and they've got Vecna something or another because they can't think of they have no idea
and there's no
except for
original ideas.
yeah, they're
No,
just going to bring
no.
back Vecna and Asarik and whatever's happened in an old module, we're bringing that back.
Oh.
They don't look ahead of the future anymore.
But Mike,
They
here
go
I'm
to the
gonna
past.
I'm gonna throw an idea out for you. All right, and tell me how feasible this one is.
All
When
right.
when when Gary put out AD&D, he put out the Munster Manual first. Why the Munster Manual first?
Everybody loves monsters. I
Well,
mean, you
no,
can use monsters. Well, you can use monsters with any version of the game.
exactly, and it was pretty much just pulling shit out of Basic and Expert and just pasting it into a new rule book. Okay. Now we're getting the Player's Handbook first in September. The Player's Handbook is essentially the only book you're going to need, in theory, to run D&D 2024, because all the rules are player facing. The DM's guide is going to be mostly advice, and the Monster Manual you should probably be able to use your old one, except the fact that orcs won't be evil and a few other things that they're going to change around. So why are they dragging it out until next February? I have a theory.
I thought you had a great theory. I like this theory.
All right, so here's my theory. This game, 2024, is just like 4E. It will live or die on the VTT. And since we never got a VTT with 4E, the game was designed with the VTT in mind. I believe that 2024 is being designed with the VTT in mind. So when the Player's Handbook comes out in September, I am willing to bet that we are going to have an open beta or maybe in a pay to play beta for the VTT, but it won't be complete, and it won't be complete until February, because they already know that they need at least a year to get that thing actually to proper working condition. What Professor DM and others have played at what the convention at the end of the year, and he's like, oh, it played really well. No, you played something that was designed to be played over the course of 20, 30 minutes, and yeah, it's nice and polished. It's not made to be used by somebody dropping their own work into it or multiple adventures. They don't have that, and they know they're not going to have it. They're not going to have it until time for May. And I saw this on Roll for Combat, by the way. Liquor made a good point. When they leaked the dates at PAX, and it was saying like May 18th or something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, they released other dates for everything else that was supposedly coming out in 2024. And everything else that was supposed to be coming out in 2024 is the exact same release dates that were released on PAX, that were officially released earlier this week. So that means most likely, internally, and this is where it gets interesting, parts of WotC don't talk to each other. So the book publishing aspect, the writers of the rules were like, hey, yes, May 18th, we can hit that. We're done. Our work is done. And the VTT people shit the bed. They got into a panic mode because they're at least a year out. And they're like, no, 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 no. So I believe that's what's going on with that. I believe the game is written. I believe it could be printed, but they've got to weasel it out because the VTT isn't ready. If the VTT isn't ready at launch, nobody's going to move to the VTT. And they need people to move to the VTT because that's where the subscriptions are. There, that's my conspiracy theory, and
I think that's as good a conspiracy theory as I would think of. I think that there probably is a lot of truth there, and I think they want to try to avoid the issue that came about when they tried the online crap with fourth edition, which never worked out. But I don't know. I mean, I don't. I don't understand what they do anymore. I every time I think they can shock me, they shock me worse the second time, or then the third time, then the fourth time, and then after a while you just keep getting kneed in the crotch so much you just like whatever. So yeah, I'm gonna keep saying what I was saying last week and I've been saying for a while is that look this I wish them all the luck they have and I'm keep publishing the game, that's great, but that's not what we're about anymore, and our crowd, the OSR crowd, needs to look ahead. We need to not worry about what Watsy's doing. We need to not worry about Greyhawk. Oh man, what are they gonna do with Greyhawk? Are they gonna do something with Greyhawk? You need to not care anymore.
You don't want them to do anything with Greyhawk.
No, you don't want to touch Greyhawk. You don't want to touch anything anymore. You just look. Thanks for the memories. We appreciate it. Thanks for what you guys did. But we're going our own way now. We have a lot of retro clones that are awesome that we're all playing right now. We can still play the original game. It's easier than ever to play the original game now. I mean, you can get the books. You can get the rule books. I mean, there's reprints of the rule books. There's PDFs. Just let them do whatever they want. And I see a lot of outrage online and people freaking out. I guess I'm tired of it at this point. Don't worry about it. Look, let them crap all over the brand. All they're going to crap on it because they're going to keep crapping on it, and they're going to keep doing stuff that you don't want them to do with it, and they're going to keep making mistakes. They're going to keep screwing up. They're going to keep upsetting the old guard. We just can't worry about that anymore. We just have to move on and say, thanks for the memories. I've got Dragon Slayer here. I've got Swords of Wizardry. I've got OSC. I mean, I've got plenty of, and I've got all the original games, added to that. So, yeah. I mean, I saw somebody complaining online, going, well, but the new game, the new game's going to bring in people. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I guess it will. I mean, especially if it's really crappy, it'll bring people in. Because oh my God, I can't. Yeah. But you just can't worry about that anymore. You've got to go out there and be proselytizers for your own religion, which at this point for me is OSR. And I'm going to push the OSR as much as possible. And if you play 5e, that's great. But go ahead and sit down for a game of OSE too. I mean, people just need to do other things. You can't be disappointed if you don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you just sit there and say, no, the only game I support is what WotC puts out now, 5e or whatever, 5.5, whatever it's going to be. Yeah, they're going to disappoint you because that's all they've been doing the last year is disappointing their fans. Don't let yourself be disappointed, but, be versatile. Say, like, look, I can play old school, I can play new school, I can play whatever I want. I can play my own version of the game. Look, you have the rule books. Gary famously said you've got the rule books. You don't need anything else. That's the secret. The secret nobody understands. You have all the materials you ever need right with you right now. It's not that hard to convert adventures. Convert an adventure. Take a new adventure and convert it if you want to. But
just real quick here. I see Jay Scott weighing in, right?
Yep.
And Jay's Lord Gasumba, and he's talking about how something massive is brewing and it's going to be announced at GaryCon and all this stuff. What I would say to that is, why is everybody in the dark? I mean, how about a little transparency? Why is it that so few people know this announcement's coming? It doesn't. If you're just going to let the fan base, for good or for bad, carry the narrative, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get this kind of rampant speculation that people aren't going to be happy with. And, that's marketing 101. You control the narrative, right? If you don't control the narrative, then it's going to go where it goes, right? So, I hear you, Jay. I got you. But I also can understand people being extremely uncomfortable with the rumor mill that's churning out there because, there has been a lack of solid information, and a lot of the information that has come out has been doom and gloom, layoffs, massive financial losses, things like that. Give us something. Give us something sooner than GaryCon. Don't let us speculate on it.
And I understand, you want to save your big news for, Gamehole, or I'm sorry, for Gen Con. You want to save, the biggest stuff for Gen Con and these big conventions, GaryCon. But, you still got a drowning man here. Don't you throw him a life preserver? You know, I mean, are you just gonna let? No, just flail for a little longer. Just flail for a little longer. We got something really big coming in a month from now. Yeah, and here's what you have in the meantime. You have rampant speculation because that's what people are going to do is rampantly speculate. You know,
Right.
so I mean, why aren't we seeing this in any official channels? Hey, we got some big news coming, and this is going to blow you away. You're not going to believe what this is. But
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
we're not really seeing that. That's what's driving that's what drives me crazy.
Yeah. I don't want Jay to feel like Jay's like literally a neighbor. I could probably uh, drive 20 minutes and throw a rock at his house. He lives so close. But don't I hope you don't think it's a personal attack, like kind of talking to you about this issue. I see where you're coming from. We understand the NDA and everything like that, but not all of us have that NDA, and not all of us are in the know, and this is something that's near and dear to people, and the fear of the unknown is a scary thing, and when the known over the past few years hasn't been great, that just leads down that road of imaginary horrors for what could be next. So, just this is discussion and point counterpoint, not anything against Jay, who I will add, Jay is a special guest at the Philadelphia
Oh,
area.
absolutely, yeah, and this is nothing against you, Jay, at all. This is absolutely nothing against you. But like you said, I mean, you have an NDA. I don't. I haven't heard, and all I've heard is, and Eric and I do know inside people, and what we hear from them is not good. It's not the opposite of good. It's I mean, we have people that are under NDAs too that have actually spoken to us under the table, and they've told us, yeah, this is not good. This is the game. They don't know what they're doing. The new rules coming out suck. This sucks. This sucks. So we're hearing, just exactly the opposite from our inside sources. I would like it to be untrue. I don't have anything against, WotC could do. I mean, I haven't bought a WotC product in, I don't know, years. I mean, I don't care. Yeah, I would look. I believe in, the Starbucks effect. I mean, the better that WotC does, the better for the whole industry.
Yep.
But I wasn't the one that tried to torpedo everything last year by trying to ill-advisedly sync the OS, the OGL, and like, oh yeah, we screwed that one up. But except they didn't say they screwed it up. They tried to backtrack and issued a idiotic press release, and and everything that's gone on since then. And then they proceed just to absolutely go down the shitter ever since then with just one mistake after another. So they're into the stage right now where I want you to show me. Don't tell me. I need to see something. So I hope this does turn out. I hope Gary Con comes out and something spectacular happens. I don't know what that spectacular would be.
I don't know either. I mean, listen, we had the rumor that the D&D IP was being sold. I mean, I went to the source article that was translated from Chinese, and I just saw that, Tencent was maybe interested in getting all digital rights, but it didn't really make it seem like they were looking for all rights. It wasn't looking like they were looking to become publishers of D&D, but who the hell knows? Because now you got Joe Manganiello, whose Dragonlance live-action series that he was really psyched about isn't going anywhere. And then his idea, and I will quote Joe, is that I offered to buy Dragonlance. We had got money people involved, and it wasn't enough. Because maybe somewhere down the line, someone comes back or the company switches hands and somebody sees the value. Now, I don't know, that's just a comicbook.com article. I don't really believe that D&D is being sold, but there are people in this community that would be like, holy crap, yes! I think the devil you know is always better than the devil you don't. And we know the devil in Hasbro. We know the devil in WotC. And I'd rather know that devil than have something completely different.
Once again, that's why I tell people, dial it back. Be happy with what we have now. Don't be, the people. Like I said, the people that drive me crazy are the ones that are like, man, it'd be really cool is if they came out with a new version of Greyhawk. And I'm like, no, that's not going to be cool. They're going to do something you don't like. I have friends to this day, which is beyond crazy to me that they hate the Peter Jackson Lord of the Ring movies because it wasn't. They couldn't wait for that to come out. Then it came out and it wasn't exactly 100% by the book, and they just hate it.
Oh,
It's terrible.
Mike,
Did you tell them not to watch the Amazon show?
Oh,
Stay
I'm
away
sure
from the
now.
Amazon show.
No, yeah, because it got worse because then The Hobbit came out, and then now we have Rings of Power. So yeah,
oh yeah, I was
they're-
about to say, I hope your friends are enjoying the Rings of Power because. Ooh.
I'm just saying, yeah, you're never gonna, just be careful what you wish for. You're never gonna be, like, Tom Bombadil wasn't in there. I'm out. I'm not watching these crappy movies. I'm like, what, dude? It was a great movie. Tom Bombadil sucks, but it was a great movie. No, it's the same thing we're seeing here. Move beyond Watsy. Go ahead. You're doing everything you need to do now. I don't know what they could do now that would make things that much better or any different than it is now. I'm playing 2E. I play OSE. I play retro clones. I mean, what are they going to do? What are they going to give me that's going to make me more happy? I mean, the stuff that they're going to make me happy, they're not going to do. They're not going to reissue the Dragon Magazine CD-ROM. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I want to see that they're not going to. I mean, they're not going to make me happy at this point. I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to do another version of Tomb of Horrors? I don't give a shit. I don't care anymore. I don't want to see the 18,000th version of Against the Giants. I mean, I'm not interested.
Well, Mike, if they redid Greyhawk, they'd have to shoehorn it into the Forgotten Realms because everything that they re-release, every setting is somehow part of the Forgotten Realms. Planescape is part of the Forgotten Realms. Spelljammer is part of the Forgotten Realms. So somewhere, I guess it'd be like Frank Metzner's setting that was in the other side of Greyhawk. Somehow on the other side of Faerun will be Oerth, and it's going to be the missing continent. Or maybe it's kind of like Warlord, where it's like the inner land, the long lost center of the earth land. I don't know.
Well, I mean, even then, so what if their big announcement was, I don't know, let's say, we're going to do Dark Sun. I don't care. We have Shadow Sun. I mean, I just don't know what they're going to. I'm just trying to rack my brain and say, well, what could they do that would just blow me away? Like, oh my God, this is some amazing ass shit. At this point, I don't know because at this point, I've tried to not be the battered housewife. I'm sorry to put it like that, and keep hoping that Watsy does something to make me happy. And I've moved beyond that now. I'm doing my own thing now. I don't care anymore.
Well, whatever they're doing is not a physical book because we know what they're printing. We know what's coming out. So it's not like they're going to announce that, hey, we're, doing a reprint series of the AD&D 2E, who all three of us happen to be in 2E campaign right now. It's not like they're going to be doing something like that.
But they're by their own words though. They're not going to by their own words. If they did something like that, it's going to be but we still have to go through the material because it's very sensitive, and we have to change up all these things. That it's never going to be as good as it was, right? It's just never going to be what it is because they have to. We still have the same bunch of idiots working at the company that were working there before, So the idiot potential hasn't changed there. You still have the same people, so I don't know. It's like trusting the guy that comes in the house and does your plumbing, and the next thing you know, there's leaks everywhere. You ask him to come back and fix the house again. It's like, oh, I'll come back and fix it better than ever. Yeah, I'm sorry, I already screwed this up once. So I just don't trust him anymore at this point. I really don't.
Listen, maybe when 2024 comes out, they're not going to wait a year and a half or so to release an OGL for it. Although I don't believe that we're going to get an OGL for D&D 2024 is such a stupid thing. D&D Forever. D&D Forever is not going to have an OGL like we know the OGL. I still believe whatever OGL they give is going to be you got to publish it within their walled garden because they're going to need to monetize it as much as possible. We've seen that with their prior attempts at the OGL. But as for them announcing something that's going to make us, the three people in this room, this virtual room, happy, man, that's a tough one. That really, really is. I don't know. We're going to add to the OGL that it's irrevocable. Well, you gave us the Creative Commons, but the OGL would be nice. But Yeah, I'm still waiting on the 3.1 SRD to become
I tell you what, that'd be a
full
start
time.
if they said, you know what, we overlooked this, that, yada yada. We think the OGL is irrevocable, and boom, here we go. That'd be a start. I mean, that already doesn't matter to me, though. I'll tell you that much because I don't need the OGL to tell me what I can and can't do. So that would be I'd give my thumbs up, step in the right direction, and then say, well, I'm glad you guys were forced into doing that. But what else are they going to do other than that? That's going to just blow me away. Like, oh my god, and believe me, like I said, announcing we're going to do Greyhawk now or something, doesn't do anything. I'm sorry, doesn't. We're going to reprint all the first edition modules, but we're going to have the warning on the inside that says that these were created by old white men, and you need to be really really worried about. I mean, so I don't
See,
know. Like I
now
said,
here, I'll step out of my comfort zone here and say, all right, you know what they could announce? They could announce that that their VTT, this VTT that I don't know, brew your coffee for you and wipe your butt when you're done. That the VTT will be backwards compatible with prior editions of AD&D, going back to original D&D, basic, expert, 1E, 2E, 3E, even 4E, and that you can play your favorite edition of D&D on the VTT. Other than that, I don't think that there's much that. Yeah, you can.
I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt, but I just. I was thinking the other day. I was just reminded. I was talking to Gary, and we had stated last year when they when they tried to screw around with the OGL that we were not going to allow any D&D Next to be played at the convention. In terms of we're an old school con,
Right.
and we're going to live up to our words that we're about old school playing, and 5e is going to be out of print soon. That's going to be old school, but anything after that we're not going to allow. And then I was trying to think. I was trying to go like, well, has anything changed our mind since then, except for the fact that it doesn't look like there's going to be a 5.5 or a 6.0 or whatever. And I mean, nothing's really changed to make us go. They really have stepped back and changed their ways. We're gonna go back. We're gonna revoke our position. We're gonna say yes, you can absolutely play the new version of D&D. No, nothing's happened to change our mind. We're still, as far as I'm concerned, I don't want anybody scheduling any D&D Next. Well, now, the good part about not scheduling D&D Next is D&D Next isn't going to be here by the time of the con, Eric. So we won't have to worry about it. So maybe that's a problem for 2025. I don't know. But, more and more it's looking like D&D Next is just going to be 5.0 with some little tinsel here and there and a couple little ornaments. And, I don't know.
Well, actually, wasn't this what? No, it was one D&D. 5.5 was one D&D. Next was 5. Sorry, I was a play test. I was one of the early play testers of 5, which had some very good play tests and some really horrible play test material. I wish I'd kept some of it because I'd probably have a very playable game if I kept some of the early play test material.
Well, you could sell it all. You'd have some money. You'd have some money, definitely. So that's good.
Okay. All right. That interesting.
Ron, any opinion here, or can you not speak due to your own NDA?
Yeah.
Does your own NDA prevent you from
you know what?
It's an extended NDA.
Yeah, I spent my day at the office of the New Jersey Attorney General for my real job. So
ouch.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, go with God. Sorry, that's.
Yeah, forget that. Never mind.
Yeah, yes. No, that's so now. All right, so now we still have two things we could talk about. We got room for maybe one.
Okay.
I don't think we talked about this last week. Trollord Games getting the basically the license to bring back Castle Zagic to complete Castle Zagic. I don't know if we addressed that completely, but additionally, we also have the Evil Genius Games fiasco, which may need more time than we have left in our lives.
Oh God, yeah. Well, we might have to say it for next week. That's.
Oh my God.
Yes, fiasco is the word. That's. That's pretty bad stuff. definitely.
Yeah, no, that's oh God. When a little bit of money makes for bad decisions, and when you expand too fast, and we've seen this with stupid Kickstarters, where they hire staff and then they realize within 6 months they don't have money to keep the company going. Well, when you hire 30 people on staff and then within 6 months you're down to six because you weren't paying anybody, including the freelancers. Oh yeah, the Evil Genius Games is going to be a lot of talking at some point. But it's already 9:53, so it's not going to be tonight. Holy
Well,
crap!
I do want to say though that I read the whole expose by Morris on in world, and I thought, now thinking back on it, I think if they handed that much money to me, you, and Ron, we probably could not be broke right now after 3 months.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it's a
because that's how long it took them to basically spend what $1.9 million, whatever it was. I mean, yeah.
right.
Well, by the way, without paying any of their employees, they didn't pay their employees or do anything. I mean,
Well, they're involved in a lawsuit over Rebel Moon, right? Wasn't that the
which, by the way,
Netflix?
a terrible lawsuit. Oh, we can't get into this now because it's going to be so
Oh
long.
yeah,
And
no,
delicious.
yeah,
But yeah, yes, and it was a terrible lawsuit because what they were accusing Netflix of, it was impossible to have happened because they said that Netflix stole their ideas when it turned out that Netflix had finished filming the movie like a year earlier. So Netflix had stolen none of their ideas. They were just had sour grapes and were angry because Rebel Moon, first of all, was a disaster. I saw it; it was not great, and that they got the license yanked from them. Because I think at some point Netflix realizes, yeah, this is probably not going to work out very well because Rebel Moon's not testing very well with our audiences, and why are we going to waste time doing an RPG for Rebel Moon when nobody's going to play it because nobody's really interested in Rebel Moon? Did you see Rebel Moon, Eric? Have you seen it?
No.
Okay.
I'm waiting to watch it after Rings of Power.
Wait till so there's supposed to be an extended version with an extra hour. I'm going to tell you right now, wait for the extra hour because I thought it looked good. The movie looked well. The plot line is rushed. The characters you don't care about. I'm hoping that the extra hour is going to put in more stuff to make you interested in the characters and care about the plot line. But yeah, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. So yeah, I don't know why they yanked the license. Maybe that was part of it. Maybe they saw it and said, "Yikes, this is just not good." But yeah, that was a disaster. And apparently, there was a lot more. A preview for next show. There was a lot more going wrong. The Morgan Freeman voice, and there was more going wrong than just spending all their money. So yeah,
much more. Yeah,
yes,
no,
yeah.
that's going to require a full dive into it.
Oh my gosh. Maybe next show. Well, maybe you'll do a broadcast this week, Eric, on the In World article. That would be that would be must see listening. Must
All right,
listen
all right.
listening.
I've only read through it once. I need to go through it, actually taking notes, and that's how in depth. Listen, I give Morris a lot of credit. I used to give him a lot of grief back in the day when he had other staff working for him and left a lot of
He's picked up you know what? He has picked up the pace. He may have
Yeah.
redeemed himself. He may have redeemed himself.
I give him a lot of credit.
Yeah.
He's been doing top-notch work. So
Yeah, because it was a pretty. I was interested in and there was a lot of stuff that I would really like to go into and find a little more information about in his little
oh my God!
article. Yeah.
Like I said, I'd actually have to take notes before I recorded that episode, and I don't do that shit. I wing it.
We like to wing. Yes. Well,
Yeah.
Ron, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We're glad to have you on. We wanted to promote Paige. We're really excited about it, and so thanks for coming and talking about it.
No. It's great.
Hopefully, I can come on closer to once we open registration, and we'll give out a discount code specific to this program.
Oh, we'd love to have you on again, man. Definitely, you definitely have an open invitation to come on.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Absolutely,
Yeah, definitely.
We got to use this show to pimp our cons. I mean, I pimp like a madman on this con for North Texas. So yes, we will let you come on and pimp. Alex, if you're listening, you can pimp. I mean, Luke, you can pimp. Whoever wants to.
Yeah,
pimp.
well, folks. I say this frequently. We don't do sponsorships. We don't do paid advertising. I know YouTube does the advertising. That's what puts like my headphones on Mike's head. But honestly, if there's affiliate links that are as a pinned comment, that's how you can buy something and help the show. But by not having sponsorships, we can speak our mind. We can bring on the guests that we want to bring on, and when we talk about stuff, like the Philadelphia Area Game Convention, like North Texas, like Gary Con, like Gamehole. We talk about publishers like Paysetter and Troller Games. We're giving you our honest opinions. We're not paid. Nobody's giving us money under the table. This is our honest opinions, and sometimes our honest opinions people don't like. That's why they're honest.
I heard Frog God Games sent over a slab of bacon to Mike's house.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
If that was their idea, then I'm going to have to say thank you, Zach and Jan. I appreciate because that was some damn good bacon. Oh my God, that was some damn good bacon. Thank you so much. If that was Frog God that did that, I appreciate it. So
I got bacon in my freezer that I'd have to defrost and then make them my dude.
Well,
the hell it still smells like bacon up here. The house still smells like bacon.
How about this? My wife's here with me in the background. We have a little farm, and she's the butcher. So,
my goodness!
We should have some. By the time next February comes around, we will have some. We should have some bacon from the pigs. We'll slaughter in the fall. So we'll keep a little aside. I'm going to keep some scrapple aside for Frank Mitzer too. He was on a search for scrapple when he was back in the area.
Wow.
And, was disappointed Bob Evans didn't have any scrapple. I'm like, they're a national chain. I don't think they're going to have it.
I'm ready. Oh well, the fastest way to my happiness is through my stomach or my whiskey bottle. So yeah, you're speaking my language.
Listen, the cheesesteak dinner on Thursday night will be right up your alley.
Okay, yeah, there you go. All right, you're speaking my language.
I worked with a sergeant on my way out for retirement. Woman Marissa, we were similar types of cops, and she was talking with me. And she goes, "Yeah, you know what I did last weekend on my swing out?" I go, "What?" She goes, "I drove out to Philadelphia to get a cheesesteak." I go, and then I drove home. I go, "That good?" She goes, "Oh, it was worth the drive."
Totally worth it. Totally worth it. Come on.
Why do you think I stop at pork loin places every time I go to Gamehole Con? I mean, come on, man. You gotta live it up every once in a while.
Oh, God. Well, Ron, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you put up with Mike and I for nearly 2 hours. God bless you.
I am. All right.
Like we had a deal before I agreed to come on tonight. Remember what that deal was? Give it to me.
Yes. I had to. It's Valentine's Day. I have to say I love and respect Ron.
There you go.
And
happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Valentine's Day, to Ron.
Wow! Holy.
Yeah. Eric, I don't love and respect you, but
but Mike, you don't have to because you're my once a week work spouse.
I know, just once a week.
That's a unique relationship, and then I'm okay with that, and Rachel's okay with that. So as long as Rachel's okay with it,
thank you.
I'm good.
I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll chat again soon.
And Joe Blanc makes it as we're signing out. Damn you, Joe.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks,
Damn
Joe.
You. Hope I see you at TotalCon. Folks, a week from tomorrow, I will be at TotalCon with Rach. So feel free to look us up. We didn't register for any games because I forgot to, and now registration for games is closed. But I see that Bob Goodenow is in the same situation.
Yes.
So we may form a group of gaming refugees with open tables.
Why not?
I will bring drinking quest. I will bring Swords of Wizardry Light and probably Dragon Slayer too. So we'll see what we got going. Other than that, folks, as always, be safe, be well, God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well. Back again tomorrow. If you're on the Discord, we do a hangout at 9 p.m. in the Speakeasy. Fridays, Glenn and I for a live stream at 8. Gamers Health, Saturday at 8 p.m. with Rach and I. Rach is going to show folks how to use Narcan. She is trained to train people, and that's part of what we're going to be doing on Saturday night. It's knowledge you should have. Many states offer it to people for your home or your car or your business for free. In this age, think about it. All right, folks, we're
Thank
out of
you.
here.
Thank
Later.
God bless.
Love you, Rob.